Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about how I made my first, well, not really 100 divines, but that's how the series is called. I'll do it for the algo. Now for this video and for kind of tracking what I made here, I will be using Wealthy Exile right now because PoE stack is not up currently. I want to put some big disclaimers because this league is very weird when it comes to making content around currency and currency making. The prices are just absurdly volatile. To give you an example, I was buying these up for 0.8 chaos just 3 days ago. Same with the other Scarab that I'm using in this strat, the Gigantification, which went from 0.8 chaos to like 5-ish. And there's a few reasons for that we're going to go over. What I'm trying to say here is that I was actually thinking about not making currency videos at all this league because it's just so goddamn weird. You say anything on stream and all of a sudden somebody buys up the few ones on the market. It is like really bad, which is therefore I cannot really make something instructional here because literally everybody's just going to do it. And that's that. It has to be a little bit more educational, and that's how I'm going to do it. This is how I did it. But if you want these strats to be good, you will have to iterate on them yourself as well. Now, people have also been asking about this hotfix right here. They reduced the amount of more common scarabs and significantly increased the amount of rare ones. Overall, this is a net neutral, I would say, for the income that I made. I made round about the same over this whole period. As you can see, it is pretty steady over time. But yeah, that's all I can say to that. Definitely has, though, influenced the prices of the two scarabs that I'll be using personally. Now, when it comes to the strats that I used, from 0 to 50 divines, I was doing Bossrush, and from 50 to 270 divines currently, not including my gear, obviously, it would probably be like 300 something. I did Rogue Exile Scarab farming, and this is what I did right here. So as you can see right here, this is where I started tracking roundabout. That's why I say around about 50 divines. That's why I started tracking Rogue Exiles, and this is like 2 days later where I went from 50 to 250 divines. I'll talk about this boss rush strat a little bit later for people who are just starting out basically, and I'll also talk about the currency distribution later. But like I said, I want this to be a little bit more educational. So let's start out with how this strat actually works. Let's first talk about the big downsides of the strats. The first one is selling scarabs. I'll do that today on stream over on twitch.tv/Palsteron. And it's basically going to be like 100 trades, and then I have to sell a few maps, and I'm done. All of these I can sell in bulk, but that is because I've been doing a lot of farming, right? I've done a long farming session. This first strat is not very good to make like your first little currency because you don't want to sell them one by one, right? While you're upgrading stuff. You want to actually sit down, farm for, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 days, and then sell everything at the end. Otherwise, you have to do so many trades in between that it's just not worth it. Otherwise, go to the second strat and just do boss rushing. The second one is this needs a high damage or like a tanky character, or I mean, preferably both. So you already kind of have to be geared. So yeah, all in all, not a great strat if you're just starting out. And then also you have to look out for price increases. Once again, I can't really do anything about it. We're using two scarabs here, the Anarchy Scarab and the Anarchy Scarab of Gigantification. Those are quite important. Now then, let's talk about where the money comes from. Pretty straightforward. From the Rogue Exiles, we are printing scarabs, as you can see right here. The way we're doing this is with this new notable called Significant Troves. Unique monsters in your maps have 200% increased chance to drop scarabs. That counts for all unique monsters, not just for bosses, and each Rogue Exile is a unique. Now, talking about Rogue Exiles, one thing I want to point out is how goddamn bad Rogue Trader actually is. You will increase the life of these absolute beasts by another, like you basically double their life just to get like an extra chaos per map. It is absolutely not a node you want to take. Complete bait. You just want the small nodes here for the extra Rogue Exile. 4 points for an extra Rogue Exile. We are also taking this one up here. Ruckus, 8% chance. You will notice when this procs, trust me, you get an additional 20 Rogue Exiles then. Here you have very important small nodes. Chance for Rogue Exiles in your maps to appear in pairs. So it's basically a more multiplier on all the Rogue Exiles that you already have. Big one also is Exiled Will. Now all your Rogue Exiles are going to be possessed. This one is pretty rough to do, but I think it's definitely worth it, even if it will be quite rippy. This will, yeah, being possessed give you extra bonuses to the loot, as well as that you have the 60% increased quant right here from the small nodes, and you also have Unrelenting Torment over here, which gives you 30% more quantity. And these all add up to drop quite a bit more scarabs down here with the Significant Troves. Also on the way, obviously, you have all these small nodes that give you 3% increased chance as well. The absolute biggest mistake I've seen people make is not blocking scarabs when you're doing scarab missions. Oh boy, I'm talking like right now, this tab is worth 126. I'm pretty sure if I hadn't blocked, it would be worth like 80 or something. Holy moly. The difference between some of these scarabs is crazy because for some reason, Some of them are just completely useless, like this Harvest Scarab right here. Area contains the Sacred Grove. For like 7-8 points on the passive tree, you can get the same effect and put something else in there. It is atrocious. This one currently is like, I don't even think, yeah, it's 0.7 chaos. And then you can look at some of these other ones, like this Harbinger Scarab. Let's say I have 50 in bulk. We're talking 8-9 chaos each. The difference is uncanny. You need to block, otherwise you're completely screwing up the strat. What you're going to block is obviously going to depend on the economy, and I cannot say that whenever you're watching this video. You will have to do your due diligence. That is a thing this league. I'm personally blocking everything here, all of these other than Legion. Legion is still worth a little bit, but if it isn't, whenever you're watching, then you can also block that. Not blocking Heist because mainly they don't have a Scarab, right? So you don't have to click this. Yeah, so in case you didn't know, Scarabs found in your maps cannot be Blight Scarabs. That is new on these points here. It's not just the league mechanic itself, so that's why this works. And then we can also amplify. So for example, 100% more likely to have Harbinger Scarabs, Ambush Scarabs, Anarchy Scarabs, Cardo Scarabs. As of this recording, that is what is worth the most. Important to note here, I guess, is that the most important metric on what you should block and what you should enhance is what the more common ones are worth, and this is where it gets a little bit more complex. So for example, the Harvey Scarab, even like, let's say all of them were bad, right? But the most rare one, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna amplify that because if I drop the most rare one, I'll make like 3 divines. Well, the problem is in the meantime, you're dropping hundreds of garbage Scarabs. So you have to look at the most common ones, and it gets complicated because this icon doesn't mean that it's necessarily, I mean, Rusteds are usually the most common, but after that, it's a complete wild guess which ones are the common ones and which ones aren't, right? Like we used to have like Winged Scarabs, Guild Scarabs. It is kind of like mashed up, so you have to be careful about that. And yeah, that's something that is currently really weird. Now then, a lot of money will also come from your maps. Now, you're not just going to sustain, you're going to over sustain, and you can now sell those to other people. In this case, we're going to be running Jungle Valley, and they are very hot right now. They sell for quite a buck. I would take Singular Focus for a while. I did not. I did regret it in the end, so I put it in this version right here. Just so you know, you can have tier 17s still drop. As you can see right here, my tab is basically full. You can still have them drop, even if you have Singular Focus. Tier 17s are not excluded. Now, a few things that are important to note here. If you don't have your 4 Void Stones, I would highly recommend getting them ASAP. Because tier 17s right now are money, and these give you way more chance to drop tier 17s, right? So as you can see right now, these sell in bulk for like, I don't know, 45, 50 chaos. I've already been whispered so many goddamn times, I had to unlist it. They are big bucks, and Void Stones are just the best way to get them. It is like, even the difference between 3 and 4 is uncanny. So if you haven't done it already, look at the other strat, but this is the most money. You want to favor as many jungle valleys as you can, and then 1 connected map to it so that you can run Singular Focus and not get screwed over, because you're going to drop quite a bit of connected maps. Still, we're not going to do the boss, but still. The most non-shitty map, I guess, is Waste Pool, but I mean, do whatever you want. This is basically just fodder. But yeah, all the rest, put them into Jungle Valley. For maps directly, we are basically just shaping the mountains cluster right here. We're taking shaping the skies and shaping the world. That is roundabout all you have to do. Not only did I sustain my jungle valleys, I like ×4, ×5 did on almost every run. Then let's talk about corpses and all flames. Now, to be completely honest, I haven't experimented much with it. I definitely want to do like some boss rushing strats where you just focus on them, but right now they're just kind of annoying to sell, so I just threw them in there as well. So for example, here I have Imperial Wraiths. Haunted modifiers are tier higher. This affects your map, which is very strong, means more Rogue Exiles, means higher values of certain things, right? Like quantity. Increased effect of devoted modifiers on monsters in your maps. These are the upside modifiers, and honestly, this is probably the weakest of the clusters. The best one so far has been, I think, Geminate Haunting. It gives you an extra chance to leave an additional corpse, and these can be worth quite a bit. For example, if you look at right here, I think currently one of the more expensive one is the one with gem links. Gems are increased chance of gems, but there is also scarcer. For example, this one right here. Yeah, this one goes for quite a bit. If you don't know what these are worth, you can look on PoE Ninja. You can check it with Awakened PoE Trade. but there is quite a bit of money, and if you're not taking them, you're leaving a lot of money potentially on the table. Some of the ones that are more common can be up to like 10 chaos apiece, and you see them almost every map. That's because crafters need a ton of them. As well as that, you have extra chance here to drop an All Flame and Eternal Torment. This is also okay, but in general, this is where a lot of the money is at. And then up top, you're basically just skewing towards meta modifiers and towards modifiers with tier rating, because those are currently worth more. This can also change in the future. Do not take Royal Soils. And as for All Flames, I guess there is some of them that are worth quite a bit. For example, the Froggies, but also Anarchy, which is basically what we're farming, right? Rogue Exiles. You can throw them in there if you want to, but I don't even know if it's worth it because people are using them for different things. Those are also worth quite a bit, so definitely price check those. Don't sleep on Corpses and All Flames is basically what I'm trying to say. And they're really easy to throw in there. Overall, I'll probably make a more dedicated video on this in the future. And then at the end here, I also have Eater Altars. You're obviously getting a little bit of currency on the side, a little bit of bubblegum currency. But mostly what it's doing is it's giving you extra altars, which gives you extra quantity. It gives you extra chance for duplication for various things, right? Those are all good. I know a lot of people right now are doing the thing with destructive play where they're spawning extra bosses and whatnot. They're kind of comboing it, and they are using Royal Guard. I'll be completely honest, I tried it. I didn't really like it. I didn't feel a difference all that much. And these 4 nodes before are also quite trash. They're laughable. So you're basically paying 5 points for Royal Guard. I didn't feel like it was worth it, but I think it's definitely a good approach as well. Now then, let's talk about the Scarabs, which is probably the most part nowadays. The biggest star here is the Anarchy Scarab of Gigantification. This is what it all revolves around. If you guys don't know what this is, a giant is basically a Rogue Exile that splits into 2 and then splits again. I actually have a hard time seeing how many of them are actually splitting. Sometimes I feel like it's kind of random, but in general, it seems roundabout that 1 Rogue Exile turns into 4. Now, the split ones will not have the extra quantity from something like, let's say, a Seance, because they're not possessed anymore. Sure, but it is still overall ridiculously strong. And on top of that, I would add a combination of Anarchy and Anarchy or Partnership. The reason I say combination is because Anarchy Scarabs are just baseline 4 Rogue Exiles, which is very strong. Anarchy Scarab Partnership is, I think, roundabout like 2 Rogue Exiles more than Anarchy Scarab on average. However, it has gone up quite a bit, but it is going down again. So this is why I say you have to do your due diligence. Right now, it's 11 Chaos. I do not think it's worth it currently, but it might be in the future. Right now, I'm running 2 Anarchy Scarab of Gigantification. But if this goes down, this combo would also be extremely strong. And in case the Gigantification goes up to the roof, you can also always do this, or even add a 3rd Anarchy and just go 3-1. Another thing you can do that I've seen people do is the Reliquary Scarab of Overlords. Personally, I have only found mostly trash. Now, in terms of price, they are quite okay, right? As you can see right here, they're like, okay, you get them for like 8-9 chaos. If you're in for Gamba, you can definitely do something like this. It is quite strong because all the split versions of Gigantification are also affected by this. You also get an extra unique drop from each one of them. However, this is a lot more RNG. But let's just go with the basic setup and show you the Anarchy plus Anarchy of Gigantification right here. 2-2. We're just going to take one of the maps I would have run. Yeah, Jungle Valley. So what I do is I chisel them and then I just slam it on. You can also go 8 mods if you really want to. Put on Eater of Worlds, put on Anarchy, which costs 2 chaos per, and just slap it on. You can do some stuff here, whatever. If you get Rogue Exiles, extra Rogue Exiles, then just like, yeah, prepare yourself. Now let's see if every map you have 8% chance to get an extra 20 Rogue Exiles, which is where most of your money comes from. But let's see if that's actually gonna happen. Doesn't seem like it. Usually when it happens, they're already jumping on you immediately. Let's see if we can spot a giant exile, just so I can show it to you right here. Usually we just roll through, obviously. There's a normal Rogue Exile. I just dropped an Anarchy Scarab. It's like 4 chaos currently. Okay, we'll find one. We'll find one. As for altars, usually I take the global buffs here for the quant and rarity. Oh, there's one. Perfect. So this guy right here will split into multiples when I kill him. As you can see right here. So he died. Now he splits into multiples and multiples again. And all of these have an extra chance to drop scarabs. That was the giants. So Next up, yeah. So if this says like currency, like greater or grand, you can also click this. But overall, yeah, I will be going for quant most of the time. If it says scarabs, you also want to go for the minion rewards, obviously. Trial course, that is actually really good money. The explicit modifiers are usually not worth clicking on. Usually I click on most of them still because you never know, right? But yeah, if you don't have inventory space, you probably shouldn't be doing that. Another ambush, another scarab. Okay, we're getting some scarabs right here. Let's kill this guy. All right. Yeah, you don't really have to look at it that much. You can also go for diff cards if you want a gamba, but I usually just go for the straight up increase there. Let's move up. Pretty straightforward. In this case, we got nothing. If you added the unique scarab, one thing I can just tell you is you should adjust your filter. Otherwise, you're going to be very unhappy. The filter, like, you will be dropping uniques left and right, and most of them will be absolute trash. But if you want to do that, then be my guest as well. You can definitely fish for some tier 0 uniques if you really want to. Let's kill this guy as well. Okay, so the drops have been okay this map. We still made money, obviously, but this was nothing to write home about. Let's see if this guy also gets some. Yeah, some more on top. Not bad in the end. Okay, let's go up. As you can see, these maps are extremely fast, and you will just be spamming them over and over and over again. Yeah, there's another one up top. It's just a normal one. Usually when you don't get a giant one, it's like, whatever. All right. Another life modifier. You should skip the boss. It's not really worth doing it. You still get the completion. The only thing you should be doing is at the end, if you're full, just get your completion so you can get the invitation. Now, another strat I want to go over, since people were asking how I made my first 50 divines, is that's how I did it with Boss Rush, Destructive Play, plus Expedition over here, right? I did this for like a day or two, and it was quite nice, right? It was basically from the get-go, just very solid cash. I used Extreme Archaeology, obviously. Important to note here is when you put this down on the bottom right, you can see the mods when you hover over, and make sure that you can run all of them. Otherwise, replace the one explosive in a way where you can actually do it. Then I also used Nico just to get a little bit stronger. All the Nico chance on the tree for 100%, even over here. If you guys don't know what Voltaxic Sulfur... So the Doomed Spirits are basically just, they drop a Tormented Spirit or a Strongbox, and I think there's one more effect or something. It's okay for 1 point, right? But in general, what you want is packed with energy. This just makes you stronger, and especially when you want to make your first 50 divines, that's because you're probably weak. Now, you can obviously also take Supplication right here if you really want to. I also think I did take Mining Byproduct, although at this point resonators are not really worth all that much, so but that's on you. I will include it in the tree, I think. Probably last points though. Also last points, I just put in Amplified Artifacts because you get so goddamn many rare monsters that it is actually, you're actually getting scarabs somewhere. Now, Destructive Play basically spawns up to 3 Atlas bosses when witnessing a boss. So you have to do different maps, otherwise this does not work. And you have to basically influence it with Maven. So if you look right here, for example, I put in a Jungle Valley, and this one has not been witnessed yet, so I can put it on here. However, once I did Jungle Valley, right, I cannot do it again because it has to be unlocked, right? There's like 10 different maps you have to do until you can do a Jungle Valley again. So this is why it's very good early, for example, where you're just completing stuff, you're just randomly throwing maps in there. But later, when you just want to focus on one map, it's not as good. One big thing, though, that you can do while you are completing the Atlas and while you're completing your favorite slots and you're doing the Destructive Play strat is you can already put in a few good layouts here on the side, right? For example, let's say I put in an estuary, right? Or like a tropical island or something. Because I like that layout, I can already put it in here and make it a little bit more likely. So then I can kind of have 10 maps, hopefully, that are kind of good. And you don't have to do trash maps just to complete this. But yeah, in general, that is round about it. Now, the reason you want these extra bosses is for the extra chance for Guardian maps, Elder maps, synthesized maps, and then also Conqueror maps. Especially Conqueror maps have gotten a lot more common because they buffed the nodes. And you will drop all of these right here, and you can sell them in bulk for quite a bit. Important to note here, yes, they did buff Destructive Play. It's now 1 to 3 Atlas bosses when witnessing. You can kill the boss immediately. You don't have to wait anymore. However, the number of additional bosses summoned is higher if there are fewer monsters remaining in the map. So you're incentivized to kill everything before you get to the boss, just so you know. So certain layouts that have the boss in the middle, right, or like for example, Ashen Woods, when you get to the boss, like at the halfway point, or Plateau where you get to it on the halfway point, just make sure that you choose layouts that kind of don't have that. But in general, you don't have to think that much about it, whether you get 2 or 3 in the grand scheme of things. Just completing the maps faster is also fine. But if you can complement that as well, then you're going to make even more. Now, one thing you can also do if you're having trouble with Expedition is you can take Ancient Decay here for 4 points. And they already spawn with 20% of life missing, so that's like having 25% more damage. I don't know if it's worthwhile, but if you have the points, why not? But yeah, as you can see, the reason I put this at the end here is because I kind of just winged it. This isn't really anything that I thought out or something like that. But just so you know, this is I mean, it's a complete surefire way to make currency at the start. There's no scarabs or anything that could be inflated. Like, I didn't even use anything. I maybe threw in some random ones that I found. But in general, yeah, it's foolproof. But yeah, that's about it for the strat. I will now go sell my scarabs. I will say one of the things with a lot of these strats is that selling seems to be a lot more of an issue this league. Like, all these scarab strats are all fine and dandy until you actually have to sell. As well as that, I do dread selling these corpses, and I am kind of questioning GGG for not putting them on the trade website. So, for example, if you look right here, they just made sweeping changes right here. Sweeping changes. You can now bulk sell so many things, but for some reason, exactly the new league mechanic, you can't. Like, why? I don't understand. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's about all I can say for this. And since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.